Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Season 2, Episode 5. But before we get into all of that, I have to give a huge shout out and thank you to LONÉZ Scents for sending me their gorgeous candles. This is the ginger and peach candle. Smells amazing. Honestly, you can't go wrong with any of the scents because they all smell great. Like, you're in for a treat, whichever one you choose. But the ginger and peach is definitely a favorite of mine. This is the cashmere and hay flower. This is the candle that I'm going to be burning when I want to take a nice hot bubble bath and have some wine on deck. Like, this is the candle that's going to get you right. Let me give you guys some really cool facts about LONÉZ Scents. The company is Black owned. They've been featured in a lot of major publications like Elle Magazine, Architectural Digest, a lot of big names, all right? So these are heavy hitters. The candles are vegan and they're also soy wax candles. So I'm excited to open this one up because I wanted to wait and do it with y'all, all right? Look at that. Look how easy that is. So this is another cashmere and hay flower. So I have two. All right, I am so excited because when this one is finished, I will be burning this up immediately after. So I'm really excited for my two cashmere and hay flower candles, and they smell divine. I am a sucker for some great packaging, so it is definitely the extra touches for me. I love this. The last candle is grapefruit and oud. And if you like that citrusy, woodsy scent, this is the candle for you. I like this one a lot. I can't wait to light this one. It's a very clean and fresh scent. The scent is definitely going to linger in your home. And the great part about all of the candles, they all have QR codes. So when you scan your phone, you're going to get a link to an already made playlist. If you would like to purchase a candle from LONÉZ Scents, click the link in my description box and you are going to be in heaven because the candles are stunning. Again, I want to say a big thank you to Malik and Danielle over at LONÉZ Scents because I am so excited for my candles. They are absolutely stunning. They smell amazing. And I can't wait to light them up. Let me just say that this was another fantastic episode. Also, SLC is a really nice reprieve, especially with all the nonsense going on Potomac and the craziness surrounding Beverly Hills. SLC is a much welcome change. So, with all that being said, let's just jump right on into it because we don't have a minute to spare. We start off the episode with Lisa. Lisa's at home with her husband and they are going over everything that went down at Angie's casino night charity event. John, I felt really ambushed last night. I really cannot believe that Angie would accuse me of sabotaging her event. Like, I was blindsided, John. I was blindsided. So John agrees that his wife was blindsided last night, and he's trying to get to the bottom of why Angie accused Lisa of sabotaging her event. So Lisa says, well, I found out that Angie and Whitney went out to lunch a few days ago, and Angie was sitting there telling Whitney everything that I had confided in her about. Like, if Whitney thinks that she's going to interject herself in a 24-year-old friendship, then she is sadly mistaken. Lisa goes on to say in her confessional that Whitney has been waiting for a moment like this so that she can win and take Lisa's friends. So John says, look, don't bite my head off, but let me just play devil's advocate here. Do you think it's possible that you and Whitney could meet up and sort of bury the hatchet and try to come together, at least be friendly or cordial, because I really enjoy hanging out with her husband. So Lisa says, Whitney is the one who has the problem with me. So until she works that out, then maybe we can be friends, or at least friendly. I was also cracking up when she said, and last night was a waste of a Gucci outfit, okay? I said, there is nothing worse than wasting a good outfit on a bad event, or an event that you low-key got kicked out of because you were accused of sabotaging it. But still. Now, regarding this whole charity event debacle and the whole catering issue, the caterer posted up some receipts a few days ago saying that Angie is lying and how they had backed out of her event for other reasons because Angie didn't want to pay them and all this mess. I still believe that Lisa had something to do with the caterers backing out. I know the caterers are saying one thing, but I really feel like they're saying this to cover their behinds because they don't want to lose business and they don't want to be seen as unprofessional or petty. But something tells me that this whole charity event debacle is going to come back at the reunion. I'm here for it, and you guys already know I love Angie. I think that she's cool. I think that she should be a full-time cast member come season 3. And no offense to Jenny, but Jenny, we are 5 episodes in, and you haven't brought that much. So I think that Angie would be the perfect replacement for Jenny. But I digress. We move on to the next scene with Whitney. And child, this scene was a mess for various reasons, but I'm gonna get to that in just a few minutes. She's at home with her kids. She's asking them how their school day was. Her kids are like, school was boring. So Mary arrives and Mary brought over some cookies. Whitney says, we should all do a cooking lesson with Mary one day. And then her kids say, oh my gosh, yeah, we should do it today. Mary goes on to say, no, I'm really tired today. One of my church members' daughters was ejected from the sunroof of her car, and then she fell 30 feet into a neighborhood. So then Whitney's daughter says, well, is she still alive? And Mary says, no. And then Mary says, but I'm happy to be here. Wear your seatbelt. I said, Mary. Girl, I'm talking to you one-on-one. It's just you and I. Mary, you have got to work on your timing, especially when relaying a really tragic story like that. I think that Mary suffers from poor timing, being insensitive, being very callous and cold, also a mix of poor social skills and some social anxiety, because that was just so inappropriate for you to tell a really sad story like that and then be like, oh, well, woo, I'm happy to be here. Like, girl, what? I think that Mary would benefit on a class regarding social cues because, sis, that ain't it. I would be so pissed if I were the parents and my daughter has lost her life in some tragic accident, and then I see the pastor and first lady on TV sort of making light about the whole situation on reality TV. Like, excuse me? And the way she told the story, she didn't say it like she cared. It was like, I'm just reporting a regular story and going about my day. It was just very sad. There's no feeling with Mary. I feel like Mary can only care about luxury items. That's it. Like, she doesn't have the capacity to care for other people. I don't know. I said, Mary, a mess. And the way Whitney and her kids were all looking at Mary like she's insane. So now Whitney and Mary go into the living room to talk, and Whitney brings up the whole mess that happened at Angie's casino night. So Mary's asking, so what exactly happened? I'm confused. Whitney tells Mary all about how Lisa was accused of sabotaging the event, with the caterers backing out, and how Lisa is angry at the fact that Whitney and Angie are friends and also cousins. So then Whitney says, it's like me and Lisa are okay one day, And then boom, all of her issues resurface back up. So then Whitney goes on and on about how Lisa will probably never be in her interpersonal space and they'll never be friends. And Mary interrupts her and says, but okay, if that's the case, then why do you care so much about what Lisa thinks and what she says about you? So Whitney says, I know I don't like Lisa's vibe, but there's still a part of me that wants to be accepted and validated by her. Now, let me just say this. Whitney, I think that is so pathetic. You are a grown woman, okay? And for you to be craving the acceptance of somebody who just might not like you is really sad. I don't know what it is about all these women across all these franchises who are so pressed and bothered about being friends with people who don't like them. We see it a lot in Beverly Hills. We see it in Potomac with all the women trying to kiss up to a certain duo, knowing that that duo doesn't like anybody. But that's another review. That's another franchise for another day. And by the way, my Potomac recap is up. It's been up for a good minute. So check it out if you haven't checked it out already. But I digress. And remember, Whitney, you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. So if Lisa never sees it for you, you have to see it for yourself and know that somebody else will see it. So stop worrying about Lisa, stop chasing behind her for acceptance and validation, and find that within yourself and find a new friend. I don't even know why you think that Lisa is so cool. What, is it the voice and the real dark hair? Like, what is it? Somebody fill me in, because I don't really see a whole bunch of cool factor. But again, I digress. And Whitney, if you're waiting for everybody to accept and validate you and like you, you're going to be in for a real sad life, okay? We move on to a short scene with Heather and her daughter. Heather's oldest daughter, Ashley, has just gotten accepted into her dream school. All right, she got into her first choice, and that is always the best feeling. I think she got into University of California in Santa Barbara. I said, go ahead, girl, you better do it. Heather is super excited because Ashley is now going to be meeting people of all different ethnicities, races, nationalities, everybody from all over the nation, versus how she and a lot of her peers, when they were going to school, all stayed in Utah. So we move on to the next scene with Jen Shah. Now, child, if this wasn't one of the most dramatic scenes of this episode. Now, Jen gets on my last good nerve, but that outfit was everything I needed and more. She was Gucci down to the socks. Now, girl, make sure that that outfit stays intact, because the Fed's gonna be taking it real soon for the victim. So I'm just saying, girl, make sure that you don't spill anything on it. Make sure it's nice and preserved so that the victims can get it and get some of their money back. But again, I digress. Brooks and Meredith show up to the restaurant. Meredith had on this all red. I said, girl, you better come through with the power color, letting Jen know what time it is. And I was screaming because they both sat down at the table. Brooks turns to Meredith and says, Mom, can we just talk one-on-one? Like, can you sit at the bar or something? And Meredith was kind of like, oh, like, okay. You could tell that Meredith wanted to be right there because she was not playing with Jen. She was like, if you say one wrong word to my baby, I'm going to flip this table over and it's going to be you and I.
No. And you're going to always get it again and again and again.
But she was at the bar, but she was watching them both with a watchful eye. So Jen starts off this really dramatic conversation by thanking Brooks for coming. And then she goes on to say how she had no idea what Meredith was still hurt about until Meredith finally told her. Jen goes on to say, I had no idea that the comments that I made were taken in a certain way. And then she says, I take full responsibility for the posts that my team liked. Like, that still falls on me at the end of the day. So now Brooks responds and says, well, from the way it looked to me, it just seemed like you were the one behind everything. I had no idea that it was somebody on your team liking the post. Then he goes on to say how he went through a lot of pain behind this, and how it's been really hard for him, and how he's also been on a journey of self-discovery. Then he says that hearing the really nasty words that he heard growing up being weaponized against him again now as a young adult was really painful for him and even difficult for him to talk about. So now Jen says, I would never want you to feel like I outed you, and the only reason why I said anything was because I'd be asked about the whole, vagina gate, and I would just say, he's probably never even seen my vagina. Like, that's all I meant by it. And then she starts crying. So Brooks is like, it's okay. I don't want you to cry. And they share a nice big hug. So Brooks and Jen are on the right path again, as they should be. There shouldn't be any beef between a 22-year-old and a 50-year-old woman. Like, that's just kind of embarrassing. But I'm glad that they're good. So now Meredith walks over to them. She's happy that there's now some peace. She's happy that her son has gotten the apology that he deserves. And Jen apologizes to Meredith yet again. And she says, you have an amazing son, and I'm really sorry for the things that I said. And I saw a lot of people on Twitter discussing how they would not have met up with Brooks. But I feel like if you have a good friend and you offended their kid, whether intentionally or unintentionally, I do feel like you should reach out to the kid and talk to them and try to make things right. And I think that Jen did the right thing saying, you know what, I was dead ass wrong. Let's meet up one-on-one. I can give you this apology and this hug in person. Now, the only thing that I still don't believe is her team was liking and commenting. I think that that was all Jen, and she doesn't have the balls to just admit it. Then we move on to a short scene with all the husbands having a guys' night. I'm gonna let you know something right now. I'm gonna skip over this scene because there was not a whole lot to talk about, and it was quite boring. And the only husbands who are interesting are the New Jersey husbands and the Atlanta husbands. So SLC, let's not try to have these guys' night scenes. You guys can keep them. So we're gonna move right on over to the next scene with Whitney and Jenny meeting up for lunch. So Whitney's talking about how busy she is, how she just bought her business partner out, and we all know that Whitney has a skincare line. So Jenny interjects and she says, girl, I feel you. I know what it's like. I used to own 5 medical practices and I had to sell them all except for one because I was super busy all the time, and I realized that I really wanted to spend this time with my kids because that's time that you can't get back. So now Whitney says that her marriage to Justin used to be really traditional, but now it's changing. Then Whitney goes on to say how she always wanted to have more kids, but it's not going to happen because Justin got a vasectomy. Now, Whitney, y'all have 2 beautiful kids together, and I know that Justin has like a whole bunch of kids. We already saw his 3 sons in the first episode when you dropped that cake for one of their birthdays. Like, I feel like Justin is not trying to be changing diapers anymore and going through all of that. I think that he's cool with his 5, 6, 7 kids, and you're going to have to get cool with the 2 that you guys have and your stepchildren. Jenny says, well, it's the opposite for me. My husband wants more kids, but I don't. The shop is closed, like, due to my age and the fact that I already have 3 kids. Like, I'm past that baby stage and the toddler stage and them waking up every single minute of the night and the breastfeeding. Like, I worked really hard to get my body back in shape. Like, I'm not trying to go back to being pregnant. When Whitney said, I mean, you could have a surrogate, and Jenny was giving her that look like, girl, don't you dare. Like, the shop is closed. I don't want any more children. Like, I'm good. She was thinking, like, don't sit up here and give my husband any more ideas. Now, let me just say this really quickly. I saw on Instagram that Jenny was upset at how the viewers were coming at her husband because of his comments about him wanting to have more kids and being really insensitive at the fact that Jenny had had some complications in the past and how she doesn't want any more kids. So Jenny says, like, my husband was just joking in that episode. Like, please leave him alone. He's a good guy. Now, Jenny, I have to give you the side eye, because if your husband was just joking, then does that mean that you're only doing this for a storyline? Like, I really hope that you wouldn't stoop so low because it's looking like you don't have much to talk about on the show, and you're giving me very much friend of the show. Like, Angie came on the scene and I was like, okay, I want more of Angie. She's giving me full-time housewife. You're not. So if you think that this potentially fake storyline is going to keep you on here, girl, think again. I just had to give you a side eye because on the cameras, you sitting up there getting mad at your husband saying that he's heartless and you're upset. But now on Instagram, you're talking about, well, he was joking around. He's a good man. He would never, pressure me to have more kids. He knows how I feel. So now it's like, girl, which one is it? I'm just saying, y'all, I was like, it's giving me very much fake storyline from Jenny. But I digress. So as their lunch is winding down, Whitney thanks Jenny for meeting up with her because Jenny is Lisa's friend. Whitney, you and Jenny are having a nice time. Why do you have to bring up Lisa? Like, why can't you just leave it as some nice, light conversation? Why do you have to bring up all the drama going down? So Jenny goes on to ask Whitney what the problem is between them. And then she says, Lisa's really fun to hang out with. She's a great friend, great girl. And she really tries to think before she speaks. So Whitney's looking at Jenny like, girl, what Lisa are you talking about? Because that is not the Lisa that I know. And again, I just need Whitney to come to terms with the fact that Lisa might not ever like her or ever want to be her friend. Like, I would not be asking about Lisa if me and Jenny are at a nice lunch together having a good time. We move on to a short scene with Heather and Meredith skiing. They're having a great time. And then they finish up and they go sit down to talk. They bring up their kids. Meredith wants to know about the college search regarding Ashley. And Heather's like, well, let me tell you something. Ashley got accepted into Santa Barbara and that was her first choice. So Meredith is like, that's awesome. But are you worried about her being far away from home? And have you guys had the sex talk yet? So Heather starts squirming in her seat and she's like, I mean, not really. And then she goes on to ask Meredith if Meredith had the sex talk with Chloe. And Chloe's Meredith's daughter. So Meredith is like, yeah, I sure did. I had the sex talk with all my kids. They've actually all been really open with me about it. So Meredith is pushing Heather to initiate the sex talk with Ashley. She's like, well, I mean, your daughter has had a boyfriend for 2 years. Is she thinking about sex? Like, has she talked to you about it? Heather's like, she has broached it, but she's still just really nervous. Heather says in her confessional that growing up, her parents never told her about sex. It was just no. Like, wait until you're married. That's it. And then she tells a story about how she was at a friend's house and she was reading this like pop-up book and like it was 2 chickens on the page and like they were having sex. So that's how she learned about sex. I was like, girl, what? So Heather goes on to say how last year she would have been horrified if her daughter didn't wait till marriage. And now this year she'd be horrified if her daughter came to her and wanted to wait till marriage. So Meredith is just, encouraging Heather to have that talk and to always let her kids know to use condoms. And I have to say, Meredith is very similar to my mom because my mom was very open with me and my siblings about sex. Like, both of my parents were. We never felt like we couldn't talk to them about sex. Like, it wasn't this taboo or weird thing. So I was like, Meredith, please encourage Heather to talk to her kids and be real. So now we move on to the final scene of the night, and Lisa and Whitney finally get together to hash out all their issues. They meet up at the restaurant, and Whitney says, Lisa and I are not friends, so this is our first time hanging out. Child, you're happy inside, aren't you? Like, you're really happy to have this one-on-one time with Lisa because deep down inside, you want to be her friend. Lisa starts off the conversation and says, our husbands met up at guys' night and they had the best time. And, I just don't understand why we can't seem to be cool. I mean, I wasn't under the impression that we weren't friends. Like, I thought that we were friends. So Whitney says, well, from my perspective, we aren't friends. So now Lisa says, if we could just get to a place where we understand each other, I really feel like we could be really great. So now Whitney brings up how Lisa referred to her as, "What is this?" at Angie's casino night. So Lisa says, "I didn't mean it that way. I meant to say, like, what is she doing here? Like, I wasn't trying to say, like, what is this?" or be disrespectful about it. So then Whitney brings up how Lisa told Angie not to claim Whitney as her cousin. So Lisa says, "I didn't mean it that way. I mean, I just feel like we have a big miscommunication problem, and I feel like you were just sensing my defensive energy." Now, girl, how can anybody misinterpret you telling somebody, "Don't claim that girl as your cousin"? There's no other way to interpret that. Just own up to it, Lisa, and be like, "You know what? I was in my feelings. I felt a sort of way that you were trying to come in between my friendship with my friend of 24 years, and I told her, don't claim her as your family." Like, Lisa, just own it. You've already been caught. Angie let the cat out the bag. She told Whitney what was said. Just be like, "You know what, girl? I said it. I felt a type of way. It is what it is." Now Lisa goes on to say how she has no anger towards Whitney. So Whitney goes on to say how Lisa's been driving her crazy and how Lisa bothers her and angers her, but she knows that deep down inside it's because she wants to be friends with Lisa. Whitney goes on to say how she hopes that they can be friends and put the past in the past. So Lisa's like, I would love that. Like, I'm a Sagittarius, and that's all we want to do is just free fall and like live in the moment. Whitney says, "Well, I'm a Libra, and that's all we want to do too." So Whitney and Lisa decide to put the past in the past and forgive each other and start a clean slate. Honestly, I don't see this newfound friendship between Whitney and Lisa even going anywhere. There's an imbalance. Whitney likes Lisa a lot more than Lisa likes Whitney. And like I've said in several recaps, Lisa's very self-centered, she's very vapid, and she's really concerned about moving in circles with the popular, the powerful, and people with status. All right? If she feels like you can't do anything for her, she's not trying to be around you. And I just feel like Whitney is setting herself up for disappointment when Lisa is not that invested in this newfound friendship the way she is. Whitney, like I said throughout this recap, please get your self-esteem up, because I thought it was pathetic that you were sitting up here begging and groveling for this woman's acceptance. Because this is ridiculous. Like, girl, what is going on? Where is the self-esteem? Where did she go? She's missing. I'm trying to find it because these girls need help. Well, these grown ladies need help. A mess. So y'all, that was the episode. Thank you all for watching my recap. I hope you all enjoyed. Again, a special shout out to Malik and Danielle over at LONÉZ Scents for my fabulous candles. And if you would like to purchase one, make sure to click the link in my description box. And as always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all later. Bye.